Welcome guys to Last Call Gaming. This is our show, The Tops, where we take our top 5 list of the topic at hand and rank them in order of what we think is the best that we have to offer. This list is the top 5 games of 2025, our game of the year, so to speak. My name is Craig Perales. This is Mandrew Montemayor, and we do this every year, and we do have a few stipulations on it. The main one is that it's only games that we've played and actually beat. So unfortunately, things like, I can tell you right now, Death Stranding 2 isn't going to be on there for us. But I don't know, we have fun doing them. How do you like doing our top 5 every year?
I enjoy doing it every year. And I think this last year especially was like a really, really good year. Because I had a couple other like contenders that ended up just like falling out over some other games I ended up playing.
Yeah, so this is going to be our first video for the new year. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you check out Last Call Gaming, which is our video game podcast that we do. This is our separate show, The Tops, where we give you our top 5. So, all right, guys, we're going to get started with our top 5 game of the year that we played and beat. Andrew, we'll go back and forth. We'll go 5s, and then we'll go to 1. So, I want you to start us off.
My number 5 is Monster Hunter Wilds. This came out from CapGod, who's killing it, and they are just full steam ahead right now. This actually came out pretty early in the year. February 28th is when it dropped, so a little kind of close to March. I really like it a lot. I love Monster Hunter. I like a lot of the new monsters. This game would be higher on my list, except for I felt like it was just a little too easy. And I don't mean easy as in the same way. Elden Ring's hard, but it's not as hard as the first time I played Dark Souls or like 2 or 3 or anything like that, because you naturally get better when you're playing a certain kind of game like that. And it just, what I mean by it is when I had my loadout, or my weapon, armor, whatever, I could kind of just cruise through the game. I didn't have to sit there and switch and fiddle around or really hunt extra monsters like normally you do. I was just killing the story monsters and kind of just moving on. And yeah, there's extra stuff in the end game that you can do, but by the time you hit the end game, if you're someone like me, I will do some of that stuff, but I'm ready to move on. Versus when I played Monster Hunter World, there's a couple walls that I hit, or even some of the monsters that I'm like, okay, you're electric and you're really just slamming me every time I'm fighting you. I need to go hunt something else now, so that way I get the, like the buff, so that way I'm not getting one-shotted by this electric creature anymore. Maybe I need a different weapon that's going to poison you, so that way it'll slow you down or do something special for you. There wasn't really anything like that with this, and I felt like that was the most disappointing part, is because I was just going in, just smashing everything. I didn't really change my armor. I would just equip like a better sword or whatever weapon I ended up using. So I didn't really get to do the expansive hunting and sit there and carve everything up. So I felt like you're almost missing out on a lot of the game, and there's no point in carving some stuff though if it doesn't do anything for you. Versus when I played Worlds, I felt like there was more of a reason to, and so for that I kind of put this one a little bit lower on my list. But either way, I still had a really fun time playing it.
Awesome. My number 5 is Dispatch, which is an episodic adventure game developed and published by Ad Hoc Studio. The game consists of 8 episodes that were released on PlayStation 5 and Windows throughout October and November 2025, followed by ports on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2. It launched on October 22nd, 2025. I don't know why it's not on Xbox, because I looked up, Ad Hoc's not owned by them, so they technically, I guess, could be. If it does come to Xbox, I definitely will play it again. The story is described as a superhero workplace comedy. Dispatch has the player take the role of Robert Robertson III, formerly the superhero Mecha Man, who has to take a job as a dispatcher for villains turned superheroes after his signature mecha suit is destroyed in battle. Its cast includes the voices of Aaron Paul, Jeffrey Wright, Aaron Yvette, Laura Bailey, Travis Willingham, and Matt Mercer. So it's a great game. It's episodic, like I said, but by the time I ended up playing it, all the episodes were already out, so I wasn't waiting, week by week like other people were. If you're familiar with games like Walking Dead or The Wolf Among Us, that's exactly what this game is like. The development team actually worked on the old Telltale games, which is the ones that made Walking Dead and Wolf Among Us, and they did Ubisoft. It's not a very difficult game. It's really cool watching the storyline. It's like the graphics on par with something like Invincible.
Yeah, I've seen bits of it.
Yeah, so it looks absolutely beautiful, and all the cutscenes are cool. It's got choices to make in the game. So, for instance, there's love interest that you can pursue. There's different people on your supervillain team turned superhero that you can like cut from the team, and different, like if you're getting in. Because there are parts when, like, flashbacks, when you're actually playing him as Mecha Man before he loses the suit, where you can make certain choices. Because at the end of the day, I think there's, like, 3 or 4 different endings. So you do kind of want to go back and replay it, and you can totally pick different people. Like, there's a point in the game where it actually tells you there's 2 different people you can cut, so your storyline is going to be different that way. Or there's 2 different heroes you can add. As far as the gameplay goes, when you're not doing, like... When you're in the cutscenes, it's more like the QTEs, so you're doing like quick time events to do certain things, to dodge punches. But when you're playing as the dispatcher, you'll be on your screen and there'll be missions that pop up, and it'll be like a senator needs a bodyguard. You know, so you want to look at all your guys that have different stats, because certain people will have speed, intellect, strength, defense. So you want to send certain people, and then other ones will be like, you know, there's somebody stuck up on a roof, so you want to send your flying guy to go get them, and then it's based on how fast they can do it. And then because you want to edge out their abilities, so then it kind of puts it into a box, and there's this little ball that bounces around, and then that's kind of a probability if you can make it. It's super addicting. Like I said, it's nothing too hard for me. It was an awesome storyline with great voice talent in a genre that I absolutely love, in a game style that I've been waiting for to return. And Dispatch, I would say, if you're a fan of The Walking Dead, the Batman games, the Telltale Borderlands, Wolf Among Us, Dispatch is the perfect game to get and to replay it. So once it does, it was the first game I actually beat on the PSP that I have, so I was actually playing in bed with it. It's fantastic. So if you get a chance to play it, definitely check it out. I think it needs a little more love. It was getting a lot of praise from everyone I've seen that has played it, but unfortunately it's a game that is only on PC and PS5. So, I guess now it's on the Switch too, but as soon as it comes to Xbox, I'll definitely be replaying it.
I know they did get a couple, I think, Game of the Year noms for voice acting too.
Yeah, so. Really good voice talent. So that was one of the best parts about it. So, yeah, that's my number 5.
My number 4 is going to be a gift from the Game Pass. This launched on July 24th, and that's Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers. It was made by Lindsay Studios. I think this is actually their first game, or at least their first major game. And now this is a Chinese Souls-like. It takes place during, I forget which Chinese dynasty it is, but it's obviously very, taking a lot from their folklore and mysticism and stuff, and just putting that into the game. And at first, I hated this game. I actually remember telling Craig, I'm like, dude, I just don't get it. It's not clicking for me. It's not like Dark Souls. Like, I want to like it. I like the story. There's a disease spreading, and it's turning people into almost like these kind of like bird-like creatures. That's what the feathering, or it's called the feathering, so that's where the Fallen Feathers comes from. That I even got to a point where I'm just like fighting this boss. I'm like, dude, I'm done with this game. I
remember you saying that.
I uninstalled it, and I was like, okay, I'm over this. I don't want to play it. I'm not going to sit here and beat my head against the wall. And so I played something else. I think I came back to this game like a week and a half later, and I was like, okay, like, I just got to try it again. Like, I know I can do this. And it just seemed like after I had beaten that boss, it just clicked for me and kind of finally, like, took off. Like, I don't know if I just understood it, or maybe, I don't know, just hit that stride to where sometimes there's games, obviously, this wasn't one that I was, like, crazy, like, hyped for. Like, I thought it looked good, but you can tell after you play a game just how much you really enjoy it by the extra mile that you're going to go for it. And I'm only missing actually 2 achievements from this game, because I went through and did everything else for it. And normally I don't gauge that as like something, there's lots of games with easy 1,000 achievements, but for something this hard, I think I had to like it that much that I still actually have it installed, and I'm thinking about it all the time, like, I should just go back and get those 2. I should just go back and do it. So I ended up really liking it a lot. The combat felt good. If you did not like this game before, I will say go back and try it now, because a lot of the problems that I had with this game, I think I talked about it before on a previous episode, like some of the healing was a little bit slow, just some of the stuff was a little clunky, you get caught up in some animation sometimes, some things just didn't feel fair, that even a boss being overly aggressive isn't the biggest deal, but when it takes you so long to heal, that's just even worse. That they've actually fixed a lot of that stuff, which is another reason why I want to go back. And I don't know, too, if this game would maybe feel as special to me as it does had I played it after they did this stuff, because maybe I wouldn't have felt like I really overcame that challenge, you know? And so either way, it's just really nice to see other people. You know, we do get some other Souls-like games out there that I feel like don't hit the mark, or you can tell like these are way off. But I wouldn't put this on a tier with Lies of P, but I'd put it kind of close, that it is nice to see another studio that is not From Software actually pick up that Souls-like style and get it, and it be good.
Yeah, and China's coming out with a couple of new ones, like I think this year or next year, so they're definitely in that space.
Yeah, this is, honestly, it's kind of a style that I'm a little bit over, because it does seem like everybody is kind of jumping on that bandwagon, especially after the huge success that like Elden Ring was, that everybody's doing it. But I remain hopeful, because like I said, you had Lies of P, and so you have these guys, two other people that did something, and they did it extremely well. I'd even put Lies of P over some From Software games. I put that on par with a From Software game. That's good to see other people are able to pick it up and do it too.
I like all of that. So my number 4 pick is Ghost of Yotei, which is a 2025 action-adventure game developed by Sucker Punch Productions and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. It is a standalone sequel to the 2020 game Ghost of Tsushima. It came out on October 2nd, 2025, exclusively on the PS5. Now, the story is set in the environs of Mount Yotei in Eizo in 1603, which is 329 years after the events of Tsushima. The main character, Atsu, is a wandering mercenary who adopts the persona of the vengeful Onryo in her quest to hunt down the Yotei Six, which is a renegade samurai, Lord Sato, and his lieutenants, the Snake, the Oni, the Kitsune, and Sato's sons, the Spider, and the Dragon, who 16 years prior had slaughtered her family, destroyed her home, and left her for dead, pinned against the burning ginkgo tree with her father's katana. Now, nothing in that plot is kind of original. We've seen a lot of revenge-type stories, and especially we just had one that's almost identical, which was in Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yeah.
But man, when it comes to Sucker Punch and this franchise, they just did it so much better. Now, the character I like Jin Sakai in Tsushima better, but that doesn't mean I don't like Atsu. And when you start to develop her storyline, because in the beginning she does kind of start off a little, I mean, her parents died, but a little whiny and a little like she doesn't care about anybody. But as the plot unfolds, man, she kind of, the allies she starts making versus the villains she starts going against and who she teams up with is really, really moving. And I was talking with our buddy Denny D6 the other day, and he recently beat it, and he played them back to back, which is, you know, I love when you can actually do that. I played Tsushima was my game of the year in 2020, but he was able to do them back to back, and he was like, man, he was saying Yotei is just a beautiful, beautiful story, and it can move you to some tears. And I just wanted to point out some of the big differences that unless I lost it. I guess I lost it. So some of the big differences between Tsushima and Yotei was, first of all, the power the PS5 does. It had snow that when you're tracking around, it stays there. It has fire that when it burns, the char marks stay there. So the world just seems more realistic. The combat, for instance, is in the Tsushima, you had to fight with element styles. Like you have the wind stance, you have the fire stance, and water stance, which was really cool. In this one, they changed it more to like a rock, paper, scissors type battling, where you have like the dual katanas beat the spear, but the spear beats the katana, but the katana beats the kusurigama. So, and you can kind of switch it on the fly, which was what a lot of people actually like that the best. So the combat is a lot of fun. They kind of tightened up a lot of things that was maybe a little more overbearing, like following all the foxes and things like that. It does have some issues. I think there's a lot of equipment modes and things like that to stack your talismans. I mean, when I was playing it, there was only a handful of things that I used for like my traveling and my battling, and I just think there was a lot more loot than I think this game needed. Like I said, Tsushima was my game of the year 2020. The reason why Yotei isn't higher up on my list is because I already had my Tsushima. Like, Tsushima was the game that was like, man, this is the Assassin's Creed I've been waiting for, and you can do kind of the stealth and the samurai fighting, where Ghost of Yotei took that premise and just enhanced everything. But you know what I mean? But it's like, there's nothing too innovative about it compared to what I already saw from Tsushima, and I'd argue that everything on my list coming up next is something innovative to the platform and does something unique. But Ghost of Yotei is a beautiful story. There's tons to do. They added things like doing the bounty hunts where you can collect and go look for like Rogue Samurai and things like that, and you can bring them in. The villains, I'd argue, outweigh Tsushima night and day. It was really cool hunting. The Oni, I think, was probably my favorite. The Kitsune was a really cool storyline. So it does come to the end. Now, I'd like to see Sucker Punch maybe move on to something else, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they just do a trilogy Ghost game and again make it a standalone just to be done with it, to put a nice little bow on it. But great stuff. And if you get a chance to play it, or if you've been hesitant on it, definitely I'd say give it a go.
My number 3 is going to be the return of something great, I feel like, especially for the franchise, hopefully moving forward, and that's Battlefield 6. This dropped October 10th, and it's made from Battlefield Studios, of course, done through EA. And again, I'd like to bring up again, rest in peace, Vince Zampella, because he was the lead at that studio. And I'd like to think and hope that he was very responsible for having a big hand in why this game was so successful. With Battlefield 2042, it seemed like they just kind of really lost their way, almost like hero shooter style, and just throwing everything in the kitchen sink in there. This is really dialing it back and getting it back to its Battlefield roots. A lot of people I know had fallen off and complained. I had fallen off on the last 2 Battlefields, because like, this just isn't it anymore. It just doesn't feel like it. It just feels like it's too different. They're straying away from making it what makes it feel good. You know, there's people flying around in like squirrel suits and stuff. I'm like, this just is not it. But this game was just an absolute return to form. And to put it at number 3, I think is good for itself. I would put it higher, but add the little negatives out of the way first. The campaign kind of sucks, but I don't think any of the campaigns have been that great or memorable for them. So it's just kind of all right. And I do like the levels, but I don't love the multiplayer levels, whereas you know, like there's classics like Siege of Shanghai, Operation Metro. You know, ask any big Battlefield fan, they can tell you their favorite, or at least something that stands out from like every other game. Whereas this one, the most I can say is like, you know, I really like the levels, but it is just a return to form of that tight Battlefield gameplay, making the classes feel important. Some of them maybe just need a little bit more balancing, but for just out of the gate, it felt so good to be able to play a Battlefield again, to feel like on that infantry on the ground, working together to either revive my teammates to keep them up, to destroy the tank, trying the weird little different game modes too. This game won Best Sound at the Game Awards too, and that's just something else I think that I don't think it's in the older ones, or at least I didn't play the last one too much because I fell off. But the sound design is absolutely beautiful. But they have another like section in there where you can change the sound to be like, you know, just regular. And then there's like another that's called like War Tapes. And then there's another, I forget the abbreviation. I think it's like FV War Tapes. And it's just supposed to dial in like the bullets, the tanks, just running and everything like that. And the sound design it's so good. One of my favorite, I think about it all the time when I'm playing it, that I like hearing the sound of the bullets hit the ground, and you can tell the difference between when I'm outside shooting or inside shooting, because you're hearing the bullets hit the wood floor and that ting. Ooh. And so it's almost like you're playing in like a movie. And I think, especially when this game launched, if you looked on Instagram, if you looked anywhere around Battlefield, it was the return of those only in Battlefield moments where tanks are shooting helicopters out of the sky, or people are making these crazy plays, and it was crazy in the sense of like what Battlefield meant, and not just this over the top, I'm flying all over the place and doing everything. And I think something I really think that they nailed it on the head, because this actually ended up doing a lot better than Call of Duty Black Ops 7 out the gate, which we haven't even gone back to finish because we're just like, dude, what is this? Like, this sucks.
We need to, though.
That I haven't even gone back to, I haven't tried the multiplayer. I was just like, okay, like, I'm just over this. Like, this just isn't for me anymore. That Battlefield just really sucked all their momentum and just took everything. Like, they just finally got that foothold and pushed forward. And I brought it up on the show before that they've had that chance to do it before, especially when going against Call of Duty, because Call of Duty would kind of be in like a little slump, and they just would not execute, and they would just fall on their face. And I think something to take it a little bit further, it did launch afterwards, but still it was within a timely manner. I think it was within like 2 weeks, maybe like a month, is they launched RedSec, which is their version of Warzone, their Battle Royale. I play that all the time, almost like every other day, every day. I'm busy with the baby right now, but whenever I get on, I'm playing with family all the time. And as you guys heard me talk on the show before, I used to play Warzone every single day, especially the height of pandemic, diehard Warzone. I love playing Warzone in the Battle Royale. I haven't played Warzone since this dropped. I think I tried Warzone one time. So that means in 2, 3, going on like 4 months, I haven't even touched something that was my number one played game for like the past like 3-4 years.
Yeah, that's nuts.
That's how good this was.
And we checked on the last episode. It was number 1, but it's probably still in top 5 best-selling game of 2025.
Yeah, so they truly deserved it. I think they did a lot right, and it's crazy to see how well it did when I would say launched at like an 8 instead of like a 10, like what they could be. You know, button up that story a little bit better and get some of those other changes and balancing done, and you know, put out a couple of different levels maybe a little bit faster, or bring in some other fan favorites in there. And this could have easily dropped it like a 10, and who knows where it would be at. But either way, with the roadmap so far, they put out content, they've brought some new maps, they've done some different things that I'm hopeful for the future that this could be a game that has a long tail.
Excelente. My number 3, guys, is Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is a 2025 platform game developed by Nintendo EPD for the Nintendo Switch 2. The player controls the gorilla Donkey Kong, who ventures underground with the teenage Pauline to obtain a wish-granting object at the planetary core. Now, this came out on July 17th, 2025. Now, just to describe the gameplay, it's a 3D platformer and adventure game that emphasizes destruction and open-world exploration. Journalists have compared it to Super Mario Odyssey, with some describing it as a successor. As the gorilla Donkey Kong, the player collects the Banandium gems, golden banana-shaped diamonds, while exploring sandbox-like levels in an underground world. Each underground layer has a unique theme, including ice, lava, and tropical biomes. In this game, Donkey Kong is able to roll, punch, slap the terrain, pick up and throw objects, and climb most surfaces. And you also get to learn 5 animal-themed power-up transformations from NPC elders. Now, the game itself is just a breath of fresh air. It's just a lot of fun. It's what the Nintendo Switch 2 didn't necessarily need out the gate. Nintendo Switch 2 sold really well, but it was kind of the killer app everyone was waiting for. People were kind of raising an eyebrow, why start with Donkey Kong when usually it would be like a Zelda or a Mario? But I think this game proved that Donkey Kong is just as strong as any of those titles, because this game was amazing. It's a lot of people's game of the year. It's one of the few times where I'm online and I see who's online when I'm on PlayStation or Xbox. But I was actually talking to quite a few of my friends on Nintendo Switch. My buddy Luis was playing it. My buddy Patrick was playing it. Our buddy Cien was playing it. Me and Sam were both going ape shit over it. It was a lot of fun. Me and Cien were actually using the Nintendo Switch feature to watch other people. You can actually watch other people play their games. And we were just looking at the different levels. It's got really cool mechanics, like I described, everything you're able to do. I think a lot of people weren't expecting how much terraforming of the world you're actually able to do, and it's surprising how lost you'll get into it, because the game has these really big sandboxy levels with a lot of different collectibles, so there's a lot to do in the game, but you'll find a lot of the time, man, you're just smashing around, you're just trying to kind of warp your way around, get into a secret cave, or something like that. It's got great level design. It's, if you're a fan of Mario Odyssey, it's just a Donkey Kong version of that. It does a really cool throwback to, it's got some side-scrolling levels where it mimics the old school Donkey Kong countries, where you'll get in the barrels and you'll do shooting and you'll have to get by a couple things like that. The enemies and bosses are a lot of fun. A lot of the boss fights were pretty creative. I know I was actually looking online. Some people were having issues with some. Now, I didn't die from anything, but there were times I was trying to figure out like a pattern. So they are challenging. It's not just a walk through the park.
It's Souls-like, boss?
It's Souls-like. It was really cool. They added some RPG elements because you're actually able to unlock different abilities for Donkey Kong. So if you want to do more like bigger ground pounding, his ability to slide, to get on rocks and slide. You're actually able to equip different outfits for both Pauline and Donkey Kong. I think they each have 2 pieces. I think he has a tie in his overalls, and she has like a hat in her jacket. So there's different mechanics you can do to kind of boost certain things in the world. It also has a 2-player function that me and Sam used. So while one person's playing and moving around, the other person can collect all the gems. And while they're fighting a boss, the other person can be shooting at it. So me and Sam were beating a couple bosses, and I'd be handling like the level and the camera, and she'd just be smashing on them. So that was a lot of fun. So if you have the Nintendo Switch 2, because it is an exclusive for the Switch 2, I believe. I don't think it was on the Switch 1 at all. Check it out. Right now there are 2 DLCs that they're calling it. Donkey Kong Bonanza, DK Island, and Emerald Rush, which are paid expansions for the Nintendo Switch game. They're sitting at $20. I've heard they're not too big, so it's up to you if you think $20 is the right price to get 2 different expansions. But overall, the ending for the game too is fantastic. If you're a fan of original or Donkey Kong Country, the ending of the game will definitely give you a smile. And at the end of the day, when you beat it, there's still a ton to do. There's a lot of post-game stuff to do. Not only is it go back and collect everything and try to 100% it, but you get these new missions that you get to do too. So when you beat it, it's not just over. There's still a lot more to do. And again, like I said, because these games are higher than Ghost of Yote, Donkey Kong Bonanza did something brand new for the Switch, and it's really cool to just see Nintendo constantly innovate and add these new ideas that sound like gimmicks, right? The punching and doing it, but once you start doing it, it is addictive, and you find out that doing something as easy as that is just a ton of fun. So hats off to Nintendo for making a great game for their new hardware. So that's my number 3.
My number 2, and something that I think came out of nowhere for me, would be Elden Ring Night Rain. Now, this is obviously From Software. It dropped in May on the 30th. Now, normally I love anything from Software, but this one was completely different. This game was described in what it launched pretty much is. It's like a roguelite, and I put like Battle Royale kind of in a way. Not that you're fighting anybody, but the way the arena closes. So you pretty much are on a map, Limgrave, I believe is what it's called. There's a few different classes for you to choose from. They've even actually added some more since then. They all do different kinds of styles. So you can do magic. You could be like heavy and use a great sword with Wilder. Guardian has a big shield. There's another chick who pretty much uses like ghosts that she can summon, and you're like puppeteering them, almost like controlling them. And then there's like a witch who does magic. So there's different play styles that you can use, but you pretty much land on this map, and it's generated differently. The map overall layout's kind of the same, but I would still go through and play it. They actually just dropped a new DLC called Forsaken Hollows that dropped on the 4th, and they have more bosses, more people in there. They've even added, since launch, harder modes for it too, called the Deep of Night, and you might fight some of the same bosses, but they'll have an extra stage to them. The attacks will be different. They'll be stronger. Enemies of every area are stronger. So it's just a completely different play style, because not only are you hoping to try to get good loot, but now it's just that pressure of time and even time management, because there's been tons of times too where I'm like, man, like I'm not gonna make it. I'm stuck in this fire. It doesn't instantly kill you. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the quickest route to try to get out of it to get to my safe spot. There's times where you have a really good run, and then that's all it takes, and then that can just end your run, and you're like, okay, like this, I can't do this. Maybe I should just kill myself. Or I've had some where I'm like, dude, this run sucks. I'm underleveled. I'm underpowered. I don't have the best stuff. But I was able to beat the boss through just, okay, like I had good RNG maybe with his attacks, or I just played it really well and maybe played it a little more defensively or a little more aggressively, that I'm like, yeah, I didn't even think I would even be close to winning that one. I don't know how I won that one. We even had times where you have those moments where, because you're playing with other people, where they're both down and you can't pick them up, so it's pretty much just you fighting the boss, and so it just feels like it's on your shoulders. That this game just created so many good moments. I love this game, and it's something that made zero sense to me when I heard about it, when they were talking about it, and it just ended up being so good.
Have you gotten the DLC? Does the DLC add new achievements? Because you 100%ed the original one. Is there more to do now with the achievements?
I haven't seen that it added new achievements. I just know that it added, I think it's got like a new map, and then there's for sure new bosses in there too.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, maybe I'll jump back in now that you can show me the ropes. Because when we first started, man, I didn't know what the hell we were doing. We were running. It was me, you, and your cousin, right? Or your brother.
It was you, me, and my brother. But initially trying to figure out, like, it is hard. It seems like it doesn't make sense. I think what kickstarted for me is we jumped in with a random dude who had a mic, and he just kind of explained this route that he was running. And so I just started running the same route, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing better, and I'm getting stronger. But then from there, I made all my own little changes and adjustments to it. But that's all it took, was just that one little bit of understanding to completely change how the game felt for me. So if that's something maybe for you, get in there and try it. Don't give up. If maybe you want some tips, hit me up. Like, I love this game. It was so good.
Yeah, because that was the same kind of thing with Helldivers too. Me and Geno were playing it, and we were a little kind of lost. And then once I jumped in with my buddy Sean and Cody, they kind of explained, he's like, oh, you need to be doing this, make sure you grab this. I'm like, okay, sometimes you just need a good understanding, because when it's a lot's thrown at you with like load tutorials, it's a hard thing to wrap your head around. But excellent choice. So moving in, guys, to my number 2, it is Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which is a 2025 role-playing video game developed by French studio Sandfall Interactive and published by Kepler Interactive. It is out on PC, PS5, and Xbox. It launched on April 24th, 2025. Now, just a quick thing of trying to catch up on what it is. Clair Obscur Expedition takes place in the dark fantasy Belle epic setting 67 years prior to the events of the game. A disaster known as the Fracture occurred, isolating the city of Lumiere from the rest of the continent. The people of Lumiere have since suffered from an annual event called the Gommage, where an entity known as the Paintress paints an ever-decreasing number on an enormous rock formation across the continent known as the Monolith. And all humans with an age equal to or above that number disappear. After the yearly Gommage, Lumiere sends an expedition of volunteers to head out to the mainland in an effort to slay the Paintress before she can paint a new number. Expedition 33 is the latest to set out. So I'm not going to dive too far into it, because we are going to jump right back into it in a second. But I will say, man, what a game this was. Now, I'm not necessarily going to call it an underdog, but a lot of people, it's like, where did this game come from? It was a small new team that had, I mean, they were pulling their people from, like, it seems like random places. They had their composer that they were pulling from SoundCloud. Everyone was kind of, confused about, it's going to be a French JRPG, which, a lot of people kind of turned their heads like, well, what does that mean? But once you play it, you understand exactly where the vibes come from. So I'll say this. It has an amazing cast of characters that are unforgettable. Like, everybody in there was really cool, and all the classes you're able to do. The music is outstanding. It's one of the things where I find I don't listen to a lot of game music just in the background, but there's a few songs from Clair Obscur where I'm finding myself blasting it on full volume. It's refreshing to see a JRPG, a new kind of style with new mechanics. What they did with skill points and the abilities of how you're able to learn them and give them to different characters, and the way you're able to customize your team, whether you want to run it as a solo or you want to have all three, and then you can still have your backup team come in. It was really refreshing. The combat is really interesting. It's very rhythmic. It's kind of a memory game once you start learning the patterns, because the game can be ran on either this kind of dodge mechanic where you're taking no damage and trying to get away from every hit, or you can utilize the parry technique where you're timing it perfectly to do counter attacks and things like that. It's loads of fun. I can't wait to see what the team does next. There's small issues that I had with it, like for one being that there was no map, but since then I think they've maybe patched that. I don't know if that's an issue anymore, but I'll leave it at that, because I will dive right back into it in a second. But that was my number 2 game, was Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and a great game. Even if you like JRPGs, it's really not kind of for everyone, but I stress that you give it a chance, because I can see a lot. The combat, I know, throws some people off. You either got to like it or you don't. But other than that, great story, but I'll leave it there for now. So that was my number 2.
Ready to jump into number 1. So my number 1 is going to be Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Like Craig said, this game came out of nowhere. I remember we had seen a couple like little trailers and a little bit of gameplay for it, and we're like, wow, this looks really, really good. And I know we had talked about it before. We're like, I don't know why anyone hasn't done something almost like what Legend of Dragoon, or some people love Legend of Dragoon, that why don't you just redo a modern? So they had something like that. So that way you're not just standing there for that classic JRPG combat. You're doing little button presses to maximize your damage, or the parry system, the dodge system. This game is just so good front to back. I love this game. It was just, I don't know. It's one of those things that I would put this in my top 10 of all time, almost my top 5 of all time. It was that good for me, and maybe just the point that it came out in my life. I don't know. I think one of my favorite things that I think is not mentioned enough in this, though, is it has a really good overworld.
Yeah.
And I don't understand, because I had said this before, like, I don't understand why Final Fantasy VII Remake, as good as it is, even though I haven't played it, I will here soon, but they're like, oh, it just takes this long because we have to do this overworld. It's not really an overworld, but each section, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, why didn't you just do it like this? like a good fleshed out overworld where it looks really good, and then when you just walk from A to B, A to C, A to wherever it is that you need to go, then you flesh out the interior of wherever it is that you're at. I just don't understand. It was just such an obvious idea, and it just came out so good on this game. This game absolutely killed it at the Game of the Awards, at the Game of the Year Awards, as it should. And it was on Game Pass.
Yeah.
So Game Pass was the gift that kept on giving this year.
I think I was reading that today, or that it just passed The Last of Us 2 for receiving the most wins or nominations for Game of the Year award. So right now it is sitting at the top dog, man. It is the heavyweight holder right now.
Craig already nailed everything about this thing, the music, the story. This is one of those games that, like, people say it's overhyped. It is not overhyped. Like, it's something that will hit more often with more people than there are some people out there like, oh, it's just not for me. It's made like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, it is that good that I think it's something that's probably going to stay with me for a while. And almost the way, like, I play Dark Souls and other games that come out that are like that now. I'm like, okay, this is that pedestal that you have to beat. Same with Resident Evil for the way some remakes should be done. This is now that pedestal for like RPGs, that JRPG style where like, okay, like this is the mark you're trying to beat. I'm sure with you, do you have something that like that you feel like, okay, like this is where it's at and this is... I know a lot of people put The Last of Us up there. I don't know if that's something for you, but...
I don't know, man. It is hard to say because Clair Obscur, I mean, it just revitalized everything for me. So I would set that as like the standard bar of what modern day JRPG should be able to do, or RPGs in general.
Do you think you would look at whatever... I don't think they've said whatever the next Final Fantasy remake for Part 7, Part 3... look at it differently if it plays like how it has been versus maybe something like this?
Well, I like that you bring up the world map because that was, now that I'm thinking about it, that is a really easy idea, which every Final Fantasy kind of does. And the way they did it was awesome. The way they still hid secrets, the way you were still able to go find certain things. So yeah, that is something that I'm not like, yeah, why aren't more games doing something like that?
If it's something you sat on, don't sit on it any longer. Get out there and play it. It was just such a good game, and I think it came at such a good point. Pretty early in the year, because I feel like a lot of games that come out even by April, towards the end of the year, depending on what comes out that year, you kind of, I don't want to say, I've almost like forgotten about them. You know?
Well, and if you're finding any difficulty, there's tons of builds and things like that. So if you're liking a certain character, or because we ended up running it through with Mael as a single run, but I was looking at other things. There's tons of different things to make certain characters all badass. So if it's something you're getting stuck on, there's tons of ways to do it. And I don't think the game's overhyped at all. I think some of the fan base behind it is just becoming increasingly annoying.
I will say my last thing, one of my favorite things about this game is it is a game that respects your time. Like when it comes to leveling, how it comes to doing like the pictos and stuff like that, how you can share them between people. It is not annoying to level that stuff up and then disperse it between your people or be able to like permanently use it and put it in your background once it's like hit that level, so that way you don't have to waste like a slot on it anymore. And that's something I appreciate now more than ever, especially with a kid, but just more than ever in general, because I feel like there has been so many games where I'm like, dude, this is such a slog and such a grind, and this game did not feel like that.
Yeah, I really do enjoy it. So, with that being Andrew's number one, my number one was a game called Split Fiction, which is a 2025 action-adventure game developed by Hazelight Studios and published by EA. It is on every platform. It came out March 6th. 2025. The story is kind of simple. It's these two different, let me get their names real quick. These two different authors. Do I have their names here? Zoe and Mio, and they each write different types of literature. One of them writes fantasy, one of them writes sci-fi, and they get brought to this company where you can get put into these machines and you can get put into the world of what you're creating. Now, something goes, I won't ruin the storyline for you. Something goes haywire, and someone's trying to manipulate that and take advantage of it. So these two characters get stuck with each other. It's a two-player game. It's the same kind of thing Hazelight always does with games like A Way Out, which was a co-op game with two different, where you play the two prisoners. And then the game of the year, It Takes Two, which was around like the family with divorce and what's going on with their children. It's a game that requires two people. You can't play it by yourself. Now you can either do that couch co-op or you can do it online with somebody. And it's one of the cool things is that if you buy it, you can give the code, you can give it to someone for free so that it makes sure that you find someone to play. I ended up beating it with my brother Geno. We had a lot of fun. It's just, I think maybe it's just the style of the genre that it's in. I love fantasy worlds and I love sci-fi. And when you're playing the game, the chapters go back and forth. One chapter you'll be playing Zoe's, the next chapter you'll be playing Mio's. So you go back and forth between these fantasy worlds. One you're fighting dragons, the next one you're fighting robots and you're shooting lasers. Every level you get new abilities. And but the cool thing about it is it's a split screen. So like Geno's playing at his house, I'm playing it at my house. He's seeing it from his point of view, and he's got to do, like, you want to solve like these puzzles to get through the level. You have to work in tandem with each other. So he'll be running over here to do something with his ability. I'm coming over here to do something with mine. The cool thing about it is if you play the game again and play the other character, you're going to have a completely different perspective on it. I just love this kind of game because it takes things to the next level. It's not I'm not saying it invented a new mechanic, but it took something that's really hard to do when you're going back and forth using different abilities like that, especially split screen, and it just simply perfected it. The abilities are a lot of fun. The puzzle solving is a lot of fun. There's definitely going to be a lot of laughs, but there's also going to be a lot of yelling in it. The ending is something really cool. They do things where the worlds kind of bleed into each other. It's just, I can't give this game praise enough. If you're watching the YouTube video, you can see kind of what I mean about how the split screen works and how you have to work with each other. Unfortunately, it didn't get really recognized this year at the Game Awards. It did win in some other categories, but for me, it's absolutely the best game I played, and it was really early on, and I knew, and again, play with somebody that you have fun playing with. If someone's not a gamer, I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, play with maybe even like your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or whatever, because if they're not a gamer, things can get challenging at times because you have to do things together, and you kind of want someone else that kind of gets the concept of gaming. So playing with Geno, for me, it was a lot of fun, but I could see how playing it with somebody else, this game might be frustrating or irritating, but it was hands down for me the best game of the year, simply because I liked the co-op stuff and I just loved the genre that it was dealing with. So that is my favorite game of the year. Andrew, let's give out some quick honorable mentions. For me, a game that I had a lot of fun with was Borderlands 4. I played it with Geno. I played it with our buddy Devin Collins. He actually helped me and him beat the game at the end. It was the first time they went into an open world kind of thing instead of these kind of locked zones. I know that kind of turned a lot of people off, but the flowingness of it, the gameplay of Borderlands 4, I think is on par, if not better, than any of the other ones. The storyline was great. The characters were great. Another game I want to give a shout out to is Absalom, which is on the PS5. It's kind of this side-scrolling. It reminds me a lot of like Golden Axe, where you can find you get health. You can ride on different like animals and things like that. But you're kind of side-scrolling and beating people up, but then you get a choice of what direction you want to go. The difference is when you die, like, because it's a really hard game, and you can turn the difficulty down, but when you die, it respawns you, and then you got to make another run. So you're trying to get to the end of the Absalom and kill it, but there's different characters. Like the first one I played through was it was like this elf ranger kind of chick, and the next one I played was like this dwarven fighter. So there's different people you can play, and inside the hub world, you're going to meet different NPCs that can boost up your magic, boost up your abilities. So that was a lot of fun. If you're into D&D and things like that, it's a perfect two-player game. And the last one I'll say is Mafia Old Country, which surprisingly didn't really get a lot of love at some of the game awards that I was seeing. And Mafia Old Country, I'd argue, is just as good as Mafia 1 and 2. I know 3 has a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. I never beat 3.
It was better than 3.
So I can't say it. But yeah, Mafia Old Country, from what I'm hearing, or at least for me, is on par with 1 and 2. So, and I love the setting. I love that it went back to Sicily and Italy. And if you've beaten it, you kind of can tell where they're going to take the story from. And I absolutely can't wait, if they're going to continue that storyline, to see what they do with it. And it was a lot of fun being able to, join the Mafia, do some sneaking around, do these missions. It was kind of a little more open worldy, so you could go do some things. But yeah, a lot of love. So honorable mentions: Borderlands 4, Absalom, and Mafia Old Country.
Mine that I got down here is Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Great game.
I love any of the Yakuza games. I harp about them all the time. This one, you just play as Majima. You go on a crazy adventure. where you're just sailing waters in a pirate ship, and it all just makes sense throughout the world. Like, it, as much as it sounds like it might be kind of dumb, the boat combat's actually really good, surprisingly, insanely good, and it was just a really fun game to play. Next for me would be Metal Gear Solid 3 Metal Gear Solid
I like that.
3 remake dropped this year, and Metal Gear Solid Delta, they called it. And again, it's just a remake of one of the greatest games of all time. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I easily put it in my top 5. I think you should play it whenever you get a chance.
It's on my list.
It was just so good, especially if you already like that story, then you're just going to be over the moon for it. And I feel like that's kind of what a couple of my other ones are.
Did you do your no-kill run?
I did do a no-kill run, yeah.
Cool.
Next would be the Oblivion remaster, because that shadow dropped, and I love Oblivion. I actually liked Oblivion more than Skyrim, and it was just so good. It was so good to get back in there and play it. It looked good. I see a lot of people, like, hating on it. I personally didn't have any problems playing it. I didn't have any jank or it running like garbage, but I'm also playing on a console, so I don't know if maybe that's more of, like, a PC issue or something. And same with my last one, it's another like remake remaster. That would be Final Fantasy Tactics: The Evil Ace Chronicles. I had never actually played that before.
Nice, I'm glad you liked it.
And yeah, so that was just my first run through. That's something that people put it on super high regard. I actually really, really love it a lot. It was a really good game. Funny enough too is I had been telling Craig that like when I go to sleep. Lately, for like a while, I kind of developed a habit of keeping stuff on. Before, I used to just sleep straight pitch black in the dark. Mm-hmm. And so there's one that has like a lot of Final Fantasy lo-fi mixes, and the background picture is just like a bunch of characters. And I was just like, okay, it's just someone's custom art, but it's an art of all the classes from this game.
Oh, cool.
And I actually didn't realize that, I don't think, until like a few weeks ago when I turned it on. And I was like, oh, hey, whatever. But I think I thought about it. I had gotten confused before and thought it was just random characters because I think I saw Cloud on there. So that's when I was like, okay, because I'd never played this at that point. I was like, okay, it's just random people and that's Cloud. I don't know who these other ones are. Maybe they're from the older Final Fantasies or something. But either way, it was really good.
Nice. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I do plan on jumping into that this year as well. So let's run down real quick what our top 5 were, guys. My number 5 was Dispatch. My number 4 was Ghost of Yotei. My number 3 was Donkey Kong Bonanza. My number 2 was Clay Obscure Expedition 33. And my number 1 was Split Fiction.
My number 5 was Monster Hunter Wilds. Number 4, Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. Number 3, Battlefield 6. Number 2, Elden Ring, Night Rain. And number 1, the GOAT, Clay Obscure Expedition 33.
Awesome, guys. So that is our top game of the years for 2025. Leave down on the list below what you thought of anything that we mentioned or what your list was and anything we may have missed out, guys. So make sure you check out our next tops, which is going to be our anticipated for 2026. And then we're going to get back into our official Last Call Gaming podcast series, guys. So until next time, my name is Craig Perales. That is Mandrew Montemare. Cheers.
See you in the new year.